welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and we are back for another episode of the Real Housewives of Potomac. And this is season 10. This is episode 20. It's called Reunion Part 3, and this is Uncensored. And let me be honest, I was very disappointed by this third part. It really gave nothing. It gave nothing. Like, it was nice to see Karen, but even seeing Karen, I kind of had a little bit of an ick when it came to her. So let's talk about it. And there wasn't really any segments. This was very much a huge filler part 3. So let's continue where we left off. Let's get into okay, so Jazzy is still on the stage. Well, I'm actually probably going to do this a little differently. I'm going to go in order. So let's start with Jazzy. Jazzy, I don't know, honestly. Well, okay. Let me take a step back. So how I'm going to actually do this review, because part 3 for me kind of gave nothing. I'm going to talk about each person individually and what they had going on in this part 3 reunion, and then rate them overall and in reference to how they did in the reunion and whether I want them back on the show or not. So we'll do that. Okay, sounds good? Good. Okay, so I want to start with Jazzy. Jazzy for part 3 gave nothing. I think she's team too much a little bit. I think she is a little bit on the side of team too much. And I feel like last season when she was friend of and they kind of had her on the stage not very long and they sashayed her, that was probably the better move, because when it comes to a reunion, she was doing too much. And it was kind of embarrassing. So, I love Jazzy during the season, though. That's the weird thing. But part of being as a reunion, like her with the reunion, I did not enjoy her. We could have kept her. So, I want her to come back, but she needs to remain a friend of. I do, prior to this reunion, I was kind of on the fence of whether I want her to be full-time or not. And this reunion solidifies she should not be full-time. She is too thirsty to be full-time. So that's kind of how I feel about Jazzy. She just kept chiming in, mainly in Stacey's segment. Well, not really Stacey's segment. The segment where Monique was trying to confront Stacey, which also felt flat. She kept chiming in, trying to say all these things, and everything she kind of said was kind of like, I'm starting to not believe anything she says, because then she also was throwing digs at Tia, and none of these women on this show have done anything to her for her to be doing the type of digs that she's doing. She's doing way too much. So it's giving she's desperate to be full-time, and she's basically trying to throw the whole kitchen sink to become full-time. And it's just not it. So, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Jazzy. Let's get into Monique and her segment, and we'll get into that. Cause that is where we ended up. This is where we started at. We were resuming where we left off, and Monique saying that she has the receipts, stating that Stacey had something to do with Chris Samuels finding out about everything she said, and the receipts landed so flatly. Let's get into it a little bit more here. So I'll be honest, I'm kind of glad that I waited to do the reunion, because I've gotten some more news on what allegedly happened, and I probably wouldn't have gotten that information if it wasn't for me, if I would just went ahead and did the reunion very quickly. So allegedly the person who was on the other line that basically was saying these allegations was one of Monique's kids. And allegedly what was said, allegedly, is that Stacey was in communication with Chris. But that's it. Nothing else. Nothing stating that she said anything to them. Nothing like that. And it came from, and so to me, it still is not reading that she didn't have anything to do with this. But one thing that I feel like Monique should have been paying attention to, and I was definitely paying attention to this whole entire time while Stacey's still trying to basically state her case of how she has nothing to do with bringing back anything to Chris and that she has not been in communication. Number one, in that clip that they showed back of Stacey stating that she, has not been in any communication with Monique, the whole clip was she left him on red. So she didn't even respond to what Chris said. So a one-sided conversation is not being in communication with another person. That's number one. And by the way, for those who are new to the show, Whisper's here too. And that was what I was looking at for a second. Okay. And then the other thing that was very obvious to me is Kay kept wanting to interject so badly. I think Kay did it. I think at this point, I almost allegedly know that she did this. She had to have done this. And I don't think she did it directly. I think what she did is she talked to Cookie because she kept saying, I talked to Cookie, I talked to Cookie, I talked to Cookie. She must have Brandon told Cookie and Cookie told Chris. That's to me what I think happened. It could, or, honestly, that was a scene full of people. And she wasn't talking like quietly. She was at a table full of everyone during Pride Day. So anyone at that table could have told him. Could have told, Chris. It wouldn't have been that hard for it to get back to Chris. Let's just say that. And also, to the other thing, we got, listen to words. Chris has been on everyone's butt. And even Stacey said that when she was talking to Monique, that he was asking if people were talking about him even before the show started. Even before she was even on the show. Which is odd. And the only reason why I feel like that would happen is, I don't know, Cookie. Or Ashley. There was plenty of people who knew that Monique was coming back. And so, and also too, Chris probably knew that she had a book. And so she was trying to do, to me, there's just so many things that makes more sense than Stacey having anything to do with this. And I love how even Stacey kind of read her, but she didn't even catch the read. She's like, I wish you would be smarter than this. And I was thinking the same thing too. It's like, girl, be smarter than this. Stacey doesn't know you from a can of paint. What does she have to gain to expose your tea? I don't know. So the whole thing landed flatly. And then to the point where, this is why I'm glad I held out on doing this review. Why is Monique on Beyonce's internet now trying to walk back and say that Stacey's been vindicated? And she said it's been some time now since the reunion. I don't think Stacey had anything to do with it. Girl, if you're going to accuse someone, stand in it. She's such a lame. I'm sorry. And for those who have been following my channel, you already know I did never really care for Monique like that. So, and this is just landing flat to me. And the thing is, let's just bring back one more thing when it comes to Monique before we move on, because I'm done talking about her. And then, well, one more thing. We'll talk about two more things with Monique. So one of the things, focus on Monique, and the other thing is something else. But the other thing with Monique that gets me is that these accusations, the things that she's doing with the binder and all these things, does that tell you that she's a healed woman? Because if you think that woman's healed, I just can't. I can't. That's all I'm going to say when it comes to that. The other thing that I will say also, too, is that Monique did, have a little bit of a heart-to-heart with Karen when Karen came back out. But with that being said, let's talk about Karen. Because the Karen situation, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know. But back to the thing. Do I feel like Monique should be back? Yes. I think Monique should come back as a friend of. But I also think, and the only reason why I think kind of want to have her back is because her healing journey, her being healed, the longer she's on TV, the sooner she's going to get exposed. Because she's, no offense, but like based off of how she worked this season and moved this season, she's given less than smart. So I feel like she is going to expose herself sooner rather than later, the longer she's on this show, of her not being so healed. So I kind of do want her back as a friend of. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Let me know what you think. Anyway, let's talk about Karen. Side note, I don't know if you can pick it up or not, but Whisper is purring like crazy. I'm petting her right now, if you're wondering. Yeah, let's see. It's her right here. She's like, she wanted to be next to me, and now she's just like cuddles. Whisper is a cuddly one. But anyway, sorry, I digress. I very much digress. Let's talk about Karen. So with Karen, I don't know. I'm really trying to keep it cute. But I guess with Karen, what are my thoughts with Karen? So she kind of just really much said more of the same thing when it came to this segment. What she has been saying with her set special and stuff like that. And she basically says, she's going to give the people what they want. Basically, she's still the Grand Dame. Nothing has really changed. And I don't know if it wasn't me or did Karen's energy just seem way off. I don't know. I think honestly, the conclusion I got from this reunion is it's too soon for Karen to be back. I do like what she said to Wendy later on. Earlier on, she was doing too much, but like later on, what she said, she has some points. She did, but I don't know. I don't think this show's good for her sobriety. Like, am I the only one that thinks that? I feel like that's like a non-unpopular opinion. I feel like a lot of people think that way. And yeah, I don't think that this show is good for that. Also, too, but before this, they had Jazzy go because Jazzy wasn't bringing anything, so she could go. And she did. Karen did talk a little bit to Stacy, and she's like, "Have you been lying?" And I was like, "Karen, but you lied too." I don't know. It's just a lot of it didn't land the way it could have landed because she wasn't really involved this season. So her talking about things that she saw on the show, it just doesn't feel the same versus her being part of the show. And also where she left things off last season, it was just kind of awkward. That's kind of how it felt when I was watching it. It felt very awkward. I would hope, I guess to me, if it wasn't too soon and she was completely, on the men's of things, I feel like she should have been able to slide right in like nothing and like seamlessly. And it didn't really give that, in my opinion. She did talk about how she knows some of the new girls, and she did also share, and this is one thing I did like about Karen with this, is she was like, I feel like she said without saying the exact same thing, but she roundaboutly just said like, Angel season would have been probably an easier season for her if Karen was there. That is so obvious. I don't know how anyone would know that, but yeah, that's definitely a thing. I don't think Madness and Sadness would have been Madness and Sadness if Karen was there. Because neither of them two, Madness and Sadness, know what they're doing. But Karen would have been the grounded person to keep them where they need to be to do better. So that's kind of one thing that I got from this. And what else here? Oh, Karen still won't call herself an alcoholic, but she is saying she is an addict. And she says, I just struggle saying it. Like, I'm trying to, basically, she is saying that she's an addict and she's going to be sober when it comes to everything, but she won't call herself an alcoholic. And I find that very odd. Put in the comments if you are someone who's been part of like a journey to sobriety, if that even makes sense. I don't think it does. I mean, it definitely is not the 12 steps. She's definitely not following that. So I don't know. It's just, I feel like with everything with Karen, with her and this segment, it just did not land the way I think they were hoping it would land. And I don't know. Let me know what y'all think, but that's kind of like how I was feeling about things. And then the other thing that was very odd to me and kind of crazy is that, well, Karen also confessed, yeah, what Ashley said was true. And then she's still saying what Wendy said wasn't true. And then Wendy, her started going back and forth. And it's giving that Karen is trying to use Wendy as a storyline to get back on the show. Because what is really her problem with Wendy? Other than maybe some residual issues that she's had with her from the beginning. What is really her issue with her? Because later on in the reunion, she turned a corner and she kind of flipped everything that she was saying from before. So I don't know, it's kind of confusing to me. One thing that she did say later on during Wendy's segment, because we'll skip to that a little bit, when Wendy's like talking about what's going on, she basically said, remember how earlier I told you to shut the F up? I misspoke on how I was saying it, but like, really, I meant right now, you're talking too much. The people are watching. And that I agreed with. I feel like Karen was completely right. Wendy is talking too much because one piece of her story that she keeps bringing up, and we'll get to when we talk more about Wendy, I cringe as soon as she started retelling the story. I was like, oh no, Wendy, what are you doing? We'll get to that when we get to it, though. But yeah, that was pretty much it. Karen, after the Wendy segment, Karen left. So Karen wasn't on the stage the whole entire time. She was basically given the friend of treatment or guest treatment for the most part. And Monique left with Karen. And Monique and Karen, Andy gave Monique and Karen their flowers for being part of the 10 years of Potomac. And that's another thing too, for this being the 10th season, I guess I would have expected a little bit more when it came to the montages with this reunion. It kind of didn't give that either. So, yeah. Anyway, let's get into some of the other people, and then we'll talk about Wendy last, because Wendy probably, out of everyone, had more going on, and everyone else was kind of there. So let's get into that. Giselle had no segment this reunion. None. The most that they gave her was about the hosting, but that was like a segment of all the women who were hosting events. But other than that, she gave nothing. And the funny thing is, Kay called it out initially, like, oh, you're not getting a segment? And then when they're doing like the last roundabouts, when they're, kind of wrapping things up, Giselle gives an update on what's going on in her life. It's just like, okay, you just proved why you didn't have a segment. If you could basically give an update what's going on in your life in the roundabout last piece of the show, this is why you didn't have a segment, because you gave nothing. So, back to Karen. I forgot. What do I feel about Karen? I think Karen needs another season off. I think let's give Karen one more season off and maybe have her at the most a friend of, but I don't think she should be full-time anytime soon. I think she really needs to focus on her sobriety. Is that good for the show? Probably not, but it's good for her as a human being. So that's kind of feel about Karen. Giselle, if we must, we can keep her full-time. Really, I think they should also make her friend of, just to humble her. And that would be crazy. I don't think we need that many friend of. So hold on. Let me reverse. Let me switch it up here. Because we're already at 4 friend ofs now. Because I don't need Monique to be full time. I honestly don't care if Monique comes back. Truthfully, I think Monique can not come back. So that X's out a friend of. So now we're down to 3 friend ofs. Have there ever been 3 friend ofs? If there's been 3 friend ofs, I think we got our friend ofs right here. I think that's it. Karen, Giselle, and Jazzy. And you know what? There is 3 friend ofs. Miami has 3 friend ofs. I know Miami does things differently, but those 3 can be the friend of. So that works for me. Because I just feel like they're not going to get rid of Giselle, but Giselle's no longer the face of the show. Stacey is. Y'all already knew I was going to say Stacey's the face of the show. But yeah, so I don't really have anything else much to say when it comes to Giselle, because Giselle was just kind of there at this reunion. Her reunion, she did not have a good showing this reunion. And even her little back and forth with Angel, to me, it felt flat, because it's you just now, Giselle just reminds me of someone who had one amazing trip and she just thinks she is the woman of all women. She had one successful hosting event. And honestly, that wouldn't have even happened if Karen wasn't in jail. And she just wants to say that she's a hostess with the mostest. So, yeah, make Giselle friend of. Moving on, let's talk about Tia, and let's get into Stacey, and let's get into Kay, and let's get into Angel. Let's talk about them all. Let's first talk about Tia, though. I'll be honest, Tia's showing this reunion was flat as well. She didn't do very well. I would say, part 2, she did all right, but this, I am curious, though, to see Tia with Karen in the mix as a friend of, because Karen should be friend of. Remember, that's where I'm at with it. I want Karen to be friend of. I do not want Karen to be full time. I just don't. Because I just don't think it's good for her sobriety. But Tia, I think if Giselle is not the woman, the person who's leading the girls, basically, if Giselle's knocked down the peg as a friend of, I think Tia will be forced to have to stand on her own and not be such a flip-flopper. And I think we will see more of her personality with that. So, and also with the Karen being involved, it's going to be more of a balanced dynamic with this group. So I do want to see Tia one more time, but when it comes to her reunion, she didn't really bring anything in part 3. I don't even remember if she even said anything in part 3. She was just kind of there. Tia was just kind of there this part 3. Anyway, let's talk about Kay. I'm not even going to turn my camera back on for this. The way I forgot about Ashley, not camera, but my ring light on. I'm not going to reset up. But the way I forgot about Ashley, that tells you everything. She brought nothing, and I'm done with her. Yeah, this should be your last season. That's all I have to say. Yes, this clip that I'm making right now is 20 seconds. Okay, so last but not least, we're talking about Wendy. So Wendy definitely did go back and forth a little bit with Karen. I don't know what Karen and Wendy's beef is about. I don't even think Wendy knows what it's about. I don't even think Karen knows what it's about. I think it's just Karen's way of trying to get back on the show. And also, too, when Wendy claimed that Karen called her mom a witch, girl, that was a reach. So I think they're doing the storyline thing with each other. I think that's what it is. Because the way it turned around so quickly once we were talking about Wendy's real life situation that's really going on, and how Karen flipped and kind of just switched to being like a mother bear. That tells me everything I need to know. The beef ain't that serious. It's not that deep. So, um, yeah, what happened, the major takeaway that I will say about this is during Wendy's segment, we saw the girls' reactions. So they did pick the cameras back up and we saw the reactions. And Stacy was in shock. She was kind of the only one that didn't say anything bad. Kay was a hater, a total hater. And she stood by everything she said. Um, Angel, as I mentioned, she said the red herring thing. Um, Ashley, surprising enough, was not as harsh when the Bravo cameras are on versus what she was doing when she was singing, with the people. Um, Giselle was harsher than what we saw, but I think what Giselle and what we've gotten from her in this reunion is she is just disappointed in how the standard of the women on the show has kind of went downhill. Because like first Karen and now Wendy. Because Giselle ain't had no life outside the show. This is her life. The show is her life. I feel like she treats the show like, because she's a producer. Like, I know her name ain't on there, but that is how she treats this show like it is her baby. So the fact that these negative scandals are happening with the show, she doesn't like it. And so that's kind of really the most that happened with that. Kay's logic of what she thought happened with Wendy, I just kind of paid to dust because I'm just like, girl, I don't care. But I will say this, when Giselle was asked about it, she kind of did have Wendy's back. And we actually saw the beaming footage. And I think I've said this before too. Remember last season, season 9, when she mentioned that she doesn't know how things are being spent at the house? And she doesn't have control over the finances? And I'm just kind of like, is she going to use that in court? And throw Eddie under the bus when it comes to this whole situation? I mean, the fact that it's been implied more than once that whether that this is going to be affecting their marriage, I would not be surprised because otherwise it ain't looking too good for her. And what made matters worse in this segment is that Wendy retells the story about her being robbed. And I'm like, sorry, y'all probably never seen my eye look like that before, but I'm just kind of like, you do realize that I'm just in shock that she brought that up again about the robbery. Because the math ain't mathing when it comes to that robbery. But I'm wondering, is she doing that to throw Eddie under the bus? Allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. That's the only way any of this would make sense to me. Otherwise, I'm still just asking a why. Why would she bring that up again? I don't know. But at this point, after she's doing this, and we're seeing Karen's reaction as she's saying all this, Karen's like, girl, you're talking too much. Shut up. And I was thinking the same thing. And even like Karen changed her tone because at first her tone was very harsh about that. But then she changed her tone. She's like, look, I don't want you to go to jail. Like, seriously, I don't. Like, outside of our issues, I really don't want you to go to jail. I think you're talking too much. And Wendy's saying, I talked to my console, this, that, and this, and I don't know. What y'all think? Why would Wendy tell that story again? Put in the comments why y'all think she would do that, because I'm so confused why she would bring that up again. And honestly, as she started talking about it again, bringing it up again, I immediately cringed. But I do like that Giselle actually tried to have her back a little bit when it comes to the situation. So in the end of the day, all the women, for the most part, minus Kay and Angel, and who cares about them? They're madness and sadness, like I said. They all seem to have her back. Even Ashley was like, look, I know I threw some horrible shade, but I seriously don't really want you to go to jail. And the way Ashley was like looking, I think she was being truthful at this moment. Because Wendy, at this point, she's breaking down. Like her the strong face that she's been having this whole entire time, she's starting to lose it. But she's also talking in that baby voice that she's been talking in, which has been kind of weird to me too. But I don't know. I feel for their family, because Andy did ask a valid question. The answer wasn't an answer. If this is to go worst case scenario, do you have any plans on how to handle the kids? And they don't have a plan. And based off of the way things is looking, I think they should have a plan. What else here? Trying to see if there's anything else we need to talk about here. She mentions that her and her family, they're doing better now due to everything happening. But yeah, that's kind of it when it comes to the Wendy situation. I'm trying to think, do we talk about everyone on the show? Do I want Wendy to come back? Yes, I do want her to come back, because ironically, even though all this came out, this was probably her best season she's ever had. She finally found her footing as a housewife, only for this to happen. So yes, I do want Wendy to come back. Can she come back is another question. And I don't think this reunion helped her. I don't know. I would have been just like Karen. I ain't saying nothing, because it just doesn't look good to talk about it. Like, the court can spin that as something else. But I think as she was humblingly talking about it, maybe there might be some grace there. And since it's her first major, I think this is her first criminal offense ever, maybe they'll go light on her. And I'm hoping they can move the trial to Baltimore County and not in the county that they're in, because the county that they're in is giving Make America Great Again. So the jury they don't have a jury of her peers in that county. So maybe if they can move it to Baltimore County, she might fare better, but I don't know. I was very surprised watching that part of the reunion. But really, to be truthful, without this Wendy part of the reunion, this would have been complete dud. This could have been just 2 parts. But that's just kind of my thoughts. But let me know what your thoughts are. Anyway, that does conclude my review for the show. Put in the comments what you think. And I'm so happy, because after this, I have one show to review, and that's it. Am I going to review Rhode Island? I don't know. I am gonna watch Rhode Island to see what I think about it, but I don't know. It might be just Atlanta when that comes up. Atlanta, and then I'm still doing Beverly Hills. I don't know why I'm still doing Beverly Hills, but I'm still doing Beverly Hills. I'm still trying to wait for the moment where it picks up. It kind of picked up last week, and then this week it went back to meh. I don't know. But anyway, that does conclude my review. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner. I will see you next time. Bye.